Good day to you and welcome to Athletissima, the first Swiss leg of the Wanda Diamond League here in Lausanne, 18 days after the Tokyo Games. We're in Pontaise Stadium, high above Lake Geneva and most of the city, and the stadium is packed tonight for this gathering of Olympic champions and minor medalists galore. World record breaker Yulma Rojas goes in the women's triple jump later in the evening. Ryan Krauser in shot put action, the world record holder and Olympic champion, of course, from Tokyo. Great middle distance action and sprint action as well, with myself, Tim Hutchings and Steve Cram beside me for the next 2 hours here on what is a breezy evening so far. Some great matchups. Well, Mondo Duplantis, the Olympic champion, against Sam Kendricks, the world champion, going the men's pole vault. Kendricks, of course, couldn't compete in Tokyo because of COVID. Lasitskene, the Olympic champion in the high jump, against Mahuchik, the pretender to her throne, the 20-year-old Ukrainian. We'll be looking for both those vertical jumps to produce great drama. And that's what they're pushing for, those diamonds and the place in the final in Zurich in a few weeks' time. Weather conditions, well, the temperature is 19 degrees, but we're high up in those stands to the right of the picture. And it's actually almost chilly. We've been putting on our long-sleeve tops over the last hour or so. But Steve, the wind down on the track, we hope, is settling a little.
Yes, Tim, good evening, everybody. It's just down the back straight, maybe not quite as bad as it was. We'll be bringing you up to date with a long jump there shortly. That's Kazmarek, who's on the outside lane of this first event, the women's 400 metres. Sarah Williams of Barbados having an excellent season. But what about Paulino, who we're rushing through these here, and Candice McLeod of Jamaica. We'll talk about Paulino first of all. She had a brilliant Olympic Games, only really moved up to the 400 metres this year. Had only run a couple before 2021 and is now the Olympic silver medalist. Then Candice McLeod, the bronze medalist in the relay, but almost getting a medal individually. Quinera Hayes, rather disappointing Olympic Games for her in the end, only finishing 7th in the final. Jodie Williams ran exactly the same time in the final for her 6th place as she did in the semi, both under 50 seconds for the first time in her career. And then Lieke Klaver of the Netherlands ran in both the mixed and the women's 4x4. And although the Dutch ran well, did not come away with a medal. And then Rachel Peo of Switzerland on the inside. Well, we went through those rather quickly. I apologise for that. It's Paulino in lane 6, certainly one to watch here. A startling introduction to 400 metres after a couple of years, 3-4 years at 100 and 200. She ran 1:400 last year, which maybe gave a hint. And if you're watching the World Relays right at the beginning of this season, she ran a brilliant leg for her country to win a bronze medal in that. And that gave her just an indication of what was possible. And goodness me, she delivered both individually and in the relay once again at the Olympic Games. So the Olympic silver medalist in lane 6. Hayes is in 4, in between them Candice McLeod. McLeod has run sub 50 and has run many races in 51, but has never actually run a race in 50 point anything. There she is, she's in lane 5. Women's 400. Good clean start. It'll be interesting to see who goes off really hard, and Sarah Williams in lane 7 from Barbados has started quickly, because it's going to be a bit of a test really when you turn into the bend after 200 metres. If you go too hard through this first 200, may well just pay for it. Paulino looking strong at this point, though. Candice McLeod has gone hard through that first 200 metres, and those two just beginning to move away from the American Quinera Hayes. Jodie Williams trying to get back into this in lane 3 as well. But the fast-starting Williams just starting to fade. Sarah Williams, as Paulino, the Olympic silver medalist, goes past her. McLeod is chasing, and Quinera Hayes looks as though she can maybe try and find something in the home straight. But this is what Paulino did in the Olympic Games. She's so strong in the last 50 metres. Paulino comes to take it, 50.40. Sarah Williams did well to hang on after starting very quickly in lane 7, but no doubt there who managed to just judge that right. The times aren't great. We will put that down, I think, to this stiff wind down the back straight, and then having to really force it home after that. But what a year she's had. Paulino taking it 50.4. Just Williams did well to hang on for second place. Just when you look at the rest, it has been a tough season. I keep making this point, Tim, about Candice McLeod, and I'm only labouring because I think it's quite funny that 400 metre, she's run 51 point something here. Has never ever run 50 point something, and that continues today. What did you watched the Olympic Games? What did you make of Paulino?
Well, I think she's still learning about the event, but I mean, what she has got, Steve, as you pointed out, is that critical ability to stay strong down the home straight. She works very hard here. Look at her bottom of picture, rocking from side to side, but that's all power in the upper body. And 50.4 on what is a breezy evening, and it's ironic, of course, because down where the athletes are staying beside the lake, it's a lovely still evening. There has been still for the last couple of days. I think Paulino will go very, very quick this next couple of years when she learns the event more. Well, the men's shot put competition has been continuing, and we have got down to the final three. Mihailovic using his best, coming in round 5, 21.37. Tommy Walsh, the New Zealander, a massive round 2 effort, 22.05. He really liked that, did the Olympic bronze medalist. But the world record holder and Olympic champion, well, Ryan Krauser from the USA, in irresistible form tonight, as he has been in just about every competition this year. Krauser killing the competition more or less stone dead in the first round with 22.81, and that brings these three to round 6. They're the only ones who will have a 6th and final round throw. Mihailovic, Walsh and Krauser in that order. Well, the wind doesn't affect these big fellas. Not sure a barn door would stop them either. Mihailovic, the Croatian, comes out in qualifying in Tokyo, despite a season's best of 21.94, which has him ranked 6th in the world this year. Find some consolation here. This 6th and final round effort from him is do it now or go home effort. He could win the competition with this if Krauser and Walsh can't go further. That's a fairly modest 6th and final round effort from the Croatian. Looks to be around 20.50, something like that. And Steve, of course, there is some pressure to make this final round effort a safety throw. Ryan Krauser, of course, producing his greatest ever series, the greatest series in history at Prefontaine last Saturday, averaging 22.77, further than anybody else in the world this year. That was the average of his 6 throws. 20.36 there from Mihailovic is the mark to catch for Walsh and Krauser.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's no way that's putting any pressure on Krauser. But Walsh now knows, that he's got to put a decent throw in. I mean, it should be okay. 20.36 wasn't the best from Mihailovic. Yeah, look at that. Well, that's a great response. I said no one's going to put any pressure on Krauser, and all of a sudden, Walsh has found in this final throw. This is what the final three is trying to generate, this last big effort. And the big New Zealander has certainly produced that here. 22.05 was his best before this. 22 metres and 10. Might not have Krauser shaking in his boots, but it'll keep him honest. So don't forget, whatever you've thrown before this, final three doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Krauser threw further in the competition. He now has to beat 22 metres and 10.
Well, I had a chat with Tommy Walsh last night. Lovely fellow. He says he throws on feel, and he threw really well earlier on. Did Tommy Walsh for that 22.05 in round 2. 22.10 then, the target for the Olympic champion and world record holder. Oh, yeah, what can you do? A wry smile there from the 29-year-old Tommy Walsh. Ryan Krauser, a year younger, just cannot be beaten. His 6th round throw in Eugene on Saturday was 22.41, and apparently that was a safety throw. Well, he's just gone 22.64, and that is massive. And I'm sure that Tommy Walsh will just shake his hand and say, you know what, mate, you deserve this. There is nothing you can do about it. Opening with 22.81 is such a psychological blow. It was a meeting record in the very first round for Ryan Krauser. He wins here as expected, setting new standards in the Pontaise Stadium.
It's never easy to
Well, he had the 5 longest throws of the competition, did Ryan Krauser.
And if you're still getting to grips with the final 3, it's of course in the horizontal throws and jumps. Not, of course, in the progression events, such as the pole vault. Renola Villanese had all sorts of injury problems this year. Such a shame that we didn't get to see him at his best at the Olympic Games, and not again here tonight. So sad that that's his exit from the competition. Still at fairly early stages, of course. Duplantis, Kendrick's back here, the 2 Americans as well, Nielsen and Lightfoot. Carsten Warholm in lane 7. No hurdles tonight, just a flat 400 metres, and the man who almost stole the show at the Olympic Games in his familiar lane 7. Against him, very good Americans, including Vernon Norwood, who won a medal in the relay, although he only ran in the heats. And Norwood in lane 4 has tried to start pretty quickly. Warholm down the back straight, chasing Willie London, who's out there in lane 8, but Warholm looks strong, doesn't he? Big chest out there, just moving up on London. This wind down the back straight might just affect them, but Warholm looks strong at the minute. Bonavecchia trying to get into it in lane 5 as well. Norwood pushing on around that top bend, and McQuarrie now starting to come back into it. So McQuarrie in lane 6 chasing Warholm, and now Carsten Warholm looks like he's beginning to struggle a little bit. London's coming back on the outside. It's McQuarrie and London. The 2 of them have got it between them. It's going to be very, very tight as they get to the line. McQuarrie just tying up, and London on the dip just takes it ahead of McQuarrie. Warholm just faded in the home straight, maybe going through that first 200 just a little bit quick. Perhaps a disappointing run from Vernon Norwood, the American in lane 4 as well. That's a really, really good win for London against all of those bigger names, shall we say. In lane 9, started quick, came past him, and had enough to fight back in the end. McQuarrie taking second, 300 behind. Bonavecchia came through for third, 45-41.
Voilà donc Sawyers qui va jouer le podium encore.
Warholm, 45-51, his time tonight. It's not that much quicker than he ran over hurdles at the Olympic Games, but it's great to see him here. And actually, that's his first defeat for a good few races on the flat and, of course, over hurdles. And he'll be back at his best events at the end of the conclusion of the Diamond League season. But a win for London, just ahead of McQuarrie. Warholm, though, as ever, a big draw. He got a huge cheer from the crowd.
Well, that 400 metres was called by Steve just a few minutes before we went on air. This is back to live coverage now, and it's the men's 800 metres, 2 laps of the track. The meeting record 142.61 built by Wilson Kipketer. 24 years ago. I don't think that'll be under threat here, not in this breeze. Patryk Zieradzki of Poland is the pacemaker. Peter Bol shares in 7 with Marco Ropp. Bol, of course, 4th in the Olympic Games. Ropp of Canada, semi-finalist in Tokyo, but a very impressive winner at the Prefontaine meeting last Saturday. Here is Patrick Dobert. What a sensation has been the pole this year. Former 400-metre hurdler. He's never run an 800 before February. He took the bronze medal in Tokyo. Quite astonishing. Ferguson Chariot Rotich goes in lane 5. The Olympic silver medalist. Second last Saturday in Eugene. By the way, just about this is almost a copy of the Olympic final in Tokyo. Just about everybody is here, including Emmanuel Correa there, the Olympic champion, 44.2 400-metre runner. That's why he won that slowish final in Tokyo. Gabriel Toual of France, 7th in Tokyo. The 23-year-old was only second in the French championships. And Clayton Murphy, who was 9th in Tokyo, said he just ran a dreadful tactical race. Had a chat with him this morning. Tuwai shares lane 2 with Tuka. Hasn't raced since the 6th of July, Cornelius Tuwai, over 7 weeks ago. Will he come into this fresh or a little bit ring rusty? Amal Tuka, second in the World Championships 2 years ago. He's 6th in Tokyo. And Adrian Ben of Spain, well, he's improving rapidly. The Spanish champion, 5th in Tokyo, and a good 1500 earlier on this season, a 3:37 performer. But Emmanuel Kipkurui Korea, coached by Paula Reng, who won the Seoul Olympics back in 1988, was 3rd in Prix last Saturday. So they get underway here, and I don't know whether or not they'll be able to go with the pace in these breezy conditions. You can see the flags there, top of picture, blowing reasonably healthily as they head into the back straight and break from lanes now. There's been talk of Peter Boll wanting a really quick time here tonight, but I don't know if he will go for that. In fact, no, he slots in right at the back of the field. Does Boll. He's one of the smaller of these men, and Sieradski takes them through 400. What looks a fairly nippy 24.5, but nobody else is up for it. That's a 7 or 8 metre gap back to Arop in second place. He's a huge fella, the Canadian 22-year-old Pan Am Games champion 2 years ago. As they come into the home straight, Steve, the pacemaker looking behind him there, but that 6 or 7 metre lead is really not helping too much.
Yeah, he's trying to stay with the lights that are pacing him, but the others weren't that interested. And it's Arop as ever. He's such a lovely runner, and he likes being in front, and that's where he finds himself. And he's actually opened up a little bit of a lead here. Rotic chasing him, Korea in a good place. As you said, Boll slotted in at the back, which was a bit surprising to see. Now, Arop will stay strong here. The question is, the others just starting to chase him down now, but can he hang out there in front?
Well, they should have learned their lesson from Prix 5 days ago, 6 days ago, because he did this there. He dominated and ran a very strong, stayed strong down the home straight. 78 seconds at 600 metres. They are beginning to close on him. Boll's got a lot of running to do at the moment, and Tuka in the yellow looking strong in 4th place. But Arop, has he saved something for the home straight? The Olympic champion Korea coming back at him with that familiar nodding of the head. The gap behind them, back to Folks and Rotic, is growing all the time, but Arop stays in the lead and takes the win by half a metre or so from the Olympic champion. And that time, well, that's not bad at all in these conditions. 1:44.52. Most of this field had run considerably quicker than that, but in these gusting conditions, high up above Lausanne, that is really strong running. And Arop getting just reward there for taking the race to the others. They really should have learnt their lessons. If they didn't race against him, they should have watched the race in Eugene last Saturday. And that's another big win.
Yeah, well done him. You're right, Tim. I think he may have run very close to negative splits there, but it was a really controlled race. Didn't go with the pace. Then he got going. The others let him go way too much, really. No, they know what he's like. They know how strong he is running from the front. And then when he got to 200 to go, you think, all right, they're coming. But no, he just can manage to... It's not so much changing pace. He's just maintaining really strongly. Look at that, Korea giving it everything, the Olympic champion, but can't quite get there. Just rewards for Arop, though. 1:44.5 exactly. And I reckon it was, as I said, very, very close to negative splits there. But nonetheless, you've got to read the conditions, haven't you? You've got to... Pacemaker's too quick, I'm sitting back, and then you've got to work out how best to go against the wind, with the wind, sit in, and he was the one who got it right tonight.
And nobody else really got a sniff at that leading pair. There was a big gap behind Korea there, but another big win for the Canadian Arop, ahead of the Olympic champion Korea, the Olympic bronze medalist Rotic back in 3rd.
So great field in the women's long jump. And this is how the three who we'll see in a minute competing for the final 3 got there. This is Jazz Sawyers. Bit of a win down the back straight, and she got better as the competition went on. Final round, she had moved into 3rd in the third round. 6:66 in the 5th round for her. Spanovic had started well, got better all the way through the competition, and a huge 6:85, admittedly with a following wind of plus 2.3. And it was Sanya who had the best jump of the competition legally as well, equaling her personal best when she jumped 6:92 in round 3 with just a 1 metre following wind. The wind has been gusting. It's helped some. It's not always been a help to others, but a good competition overall, and it means that Jazz Sawyers will go first, who's had such a brilliant year, big new personal best in the States early on in the season, and then once again turned up at the Olympic Games and performed well. She's a big-time competitor. Doesn't jump as far as many of the bigger names, if you like, but time and time again, she produces what she can. which is why she's been to 2 Olympic finals and is now a 690 jumper. Chula Vista in California back in June. 666 tonight in the 5th round. So she'll go first. Can she give the other two something to think about? I think a legal jump first of all. A little bit of following wind of the right type would be great. Always bubbly, a real character, Jazz, and she'll certainly give her best here. It's a decent effort. Probably not as good as she would have liked to put any pressure on Spanovic and Sanya. I wonder what the height difference is between Spanovic and Jasmine Sawyer. She was one of the shortest world-class long jumpers and 17 centimetres behind the board. Just watching this run up here, she can generate a bit of speed there, but not quite hitting the board as she would like, so that's going to come up at 6:43. And the wind, plus 1.5, so it's just settling a little bit in the back straight. Sawyers sets the first target, 6:43, for the other two to beat. She's not sure where to see the ball.
But it is a target, Steve. And of course, Sanya here can't afford to hold back, or Spanovic, excuse me, can't afford to hold back. Her best 6:85 in round 5. Oh, that looks pretty useful. Now gets the white flag, and it certainly looks better than the 6:43 of Jazz Sawyers. Spanovic's series incredibly consistent. Her first 3 efforts, listen to this: 671, 676, 674. I mean, you couldn't make it up. That's incredible consistency. And 673 is her final round effort in this top 3 situation, final 3 situation, and that will take a little bit of catching. We know Sanya's in great shape with that 3rd round 692 we saw a couple of minutes ago, but 673 now is the standard.
Spanovic missed out on a medal with that last round jump of Mahambo at the Olympic Games, which moved her from a medal position down to 4th. Sanya herself not quite able to produce the sort of jump we've seen here tonight. 6.92 meters, equal the best set in Zagreb last year. So 6.73 to beat for Sanya. Just chopping a little bit before she reaches the board, and I think that just took the speed off. She's applauding herself, but it doesn't look far enough to me. 23 centimeters behind the board. You can see she just checks as she comes about 4 or 5 strides out. She realizes she hasn't quite got her run up right. Got to get a legal jump in. Just there, did you see the adjustment? And then that just took a bit of speed off, and that means she's going to finish with 6.64 meters. So the positions reversed in the final 3. Spanovic will win this with a 6.73. Sanya, 2nd place, 6.64. And Jazz Sawyers will take 3rd. I think she did that earlier in the season as well. I'm trying to think where Spanovic was in 2nd or 3rd and then came away with it. Maybe in Florence. I'd have to go back and check. But Sanya there, despite her 6.92, I think Sanya will be delighted to have come away with the personal best of, in the competition, but doesn't win. Not sure what Spanovic held up there, what message she was holding up on the back of her number. But she gets the win in the final 3 in the women's long jump. Tricky conditions when the wind's gusting and swirling. As Tim was saying, she had a great series, so rewarded with that. But I think a good night all round. 6.85 in the competition, and then to qualify for the final 3, and then takes the win with a solid jump at the end.
Well, we can go over to the pole vault where they're all here. The top 6 in the world, indeed, are here. No Thiago Braz, the bronze medalist in Tokyo, but on the world rankings, they're all here. And here is the Olympic champion, world record, Mondo Duplantis, popping over his opening height. But at the 2nd effort, 5 meters 62, failed the first time. Still only 21, of course. Silver medalist in the World Championships to Sam Kendricks 2 years ago, but a class apart, winning in Tokyo with 6:02. He has the world records indoors and out, both set last year in February and September respectively, and he just keeps on producing these astonishing vaults. I mean, he's over that by a massive margin, 5:62. It's his opening height. He's the last to come in.
Well, what a year it's been for Nicola McDermott. Records galore, now an Olympic silver medalist as well. She's such a happy character, coming in reasonably early, although we've seen a few jumps already. 189, first time clearance, and that's what you want, and that's what you need. Because they're on a tricky night with the conditions, wind kind of blowing down into their faces, the high jump and the first bend always here in Lausanne. We've seen some brilliant high jump competitions here over the years. And this is Mahuchik. Well, it's not a first time clearance for her. She did come in at 185, maybe to get a bit of a sighter. Cleared that very nicely, but not at 189, so that's a bit of a setback early on for her. I'm sure she'll clear it, but when it comes to later on, that may well be something she will rue. Lazitskina already clear at 185, again came in early. Levchenko similarly, so here's Lazitskina next to go.
Well, Lazitskina then, her turn, 189. Nice and fresh. Only one jump so far. Shouldn't be a problem. Tights on, nice and relaxed. Yeah, beautiful. Very fluid, very fast. She is not only the Olympic champion, she's 3 times now the world champion. She's dominated 2015, 2017, 2019. Really came to the fore, I suppose, with her first big world title back in 2014 in Sopot, Poland, where on the Polish coast she shared the gold medal actually with Kamila Litvinenko, who was jumping in front of the home crowd. Demireva then, here she goes. No, the Bulgarian there, looking a little bit lackluster. Cleared 185 first time, her opening height, and that's her second failure at 189. She's in a spot of trouble. Only 3 athletes have gone clear at this height first time. Lazitskina, McDermott and Litvinenko, funnily enough, the Pole I mentioned just now, who took that share of the gold in Sopot 7 years ago.
Levchenko next to go. Second attempt for the other Ukrainian. You've got 3 great jumpers. No, just looking a little bit out of sorts. Had a decent competition last week, but again, it looks as if just not getting a run up right there. So early for her to be sitting on a 3rd attempt.
Yeah, some big jumpers there, and I'm sure we'll see plenty more heights cleared yet, although they're struggling a little bit early. Maybe some travel in those legs from Tokyo and Eugene over in the Pacific Northwest last weekend.
It's on the track, not far from the women's high jump there. The women's 1500 lining up. Pacemaker Chanel Price. Gemma Ricci moving up from a normal event, the 800, but is pretty good at 1500 as well. And then Frewani Gebrezeba, the very talented 20-year-old Ethiopian, made the final in this event at the Olympic Games. Lyndon Hall is having a great season, under 4 minutes. Katie Snowden will be going for a great bit. And 1 or 2 others to look out for as well. I think particularly this young lady here, Josette Norris, who's not so well known, only her 2nd Diamond League meeting, but she ran in Eugene, ran very well. Didn't make the US Olympic team, attempted to make it at 5,000, but she produced a sub 4 clocking, first one ever after the US trials, and is in great form. And, although she wouldn't be one of those that people would know too much about, just watch out for her here. But as Tim was making the point, not everybody travels well coming back from Eugene across. It's a quick turnaround back into Europe. Talking to Lyndon Hall, and everybody's having travel issues around the COVID restrictions we all have, but I think the Australians have had it as tough as anybody over the last 18 months or so. So women's 1500, Chanel Price to set the pace. So they've been asked for a fairly swift but sensible, I think, 63, get round to 6 and see if Price can get them all the way to 1,000 metres and then see what happens after that. And we've got, as I said, these couple of very, very talented Ethiopians, Gebrselassie in particular, who can run fast 800, and we saw in Monaco she's also got great 1,500 metre pace, and Meshesha as well, who again has run sub-4 this year. So that wind might just take the edge off it a little bit, but Chanel Price is very, very experienced, and I'm sure we'll just judge it right. And they've got the lights that are shining brightly in the night sky now in Lausanne, and she's just ahead of that pace a little bit that was asked for.
Yeah, Steve, she's a 1:58 800-metre runner, and Chanel Price there sensibly with about almost 300 done, having a glance round, just seeing that she's getting it right for the athletes behind. And the good news is that they are going with her. I think that's Lyndon Hall in third place, who will want to keep this pace honest. She will probably be wary, as will several of these athletes, of the 800-metre speed of the likes of Gemma Riki and Gebrselassie that you've already mentioned. But you can see here Chanel Price just trying to drag them along.
Yeah, Meshesha just moves up. Lyndon Hall, who likes a good, hard, strong pace, isn't always able to produce the kick that some of the others can, the likes of Gemma Riki, but she's tucked in on the inside. Looks like Norris isn't quite sure whether to chase Hall. 7-second improvement at 1,500 metres. She's still perhaps finding her feet at this event. So she's just allowing that gap. They've all allowed that gap to appear, as Lyndon Hall really has tried to grab hold of this. Gebrselassie trying to move up now, realising the danger. 2 laps to go. Chanel Price will try and keep going for a little while longer and looks back to see only Lyndon Hall behind her.
Well, Lyndon Hall's got a bit of an opportunity here, Steve, hasn't she? I don't know if she was aware that there's a 10-metre gap behind her, maybe more. But if Chanel Price were to drop out here, then Lyndon Hall, I think, is running strongly enough after that brilliant second place at Prefontaine last Saturday to get her head down and push this over the next lap and a half. That gap's stretched, hasn't it? What's that, 12, 13 metres? She's pulling away, and she really needs to glance up at the big screen in front of her right now and see what's before her. Great chance to get away.
Gisette Norris leading the chase. I think they got to 800 and realised how slow they were. Hall was only 2.7, and she's certainly capable of staying out there. She'll have the wind on her back now. Chanel Price has kept going really well to 1,000 metres. So Lyndon Hall, the Australian, with a good 10, 12 metres, maybe even a little bit more than that. She's got the lights to chase as she comes down towards the bell. Perez now moves to the front with Gisette Norris, Gemma Riki in close attention. And then moving on the outside, Gebrselassie finally coming to life, the Ethiopian, but they've got a lot of chasing to do. Lyndon Hall still with that lead and looking strong at the minute, although perhaps that gap just starting to shorten.
Well, it's shortening a little bit, Steve, but Lyndon Hall's in great shape. Sub-4 last Saturday at Prefontaine. I got that lap to the bell for Lyndon Hall at 65.03. That's still about 10 or 11 metres, and she's strong enough to keep her head down here and hold them at bay. I think she deserves it.
Gebrselassie chasing, Gisette Norris as well. They've both got great strength. Gebrselassie perhaps with a little bit more pace, but they've still got work to do. Lyndon Hall hanging on there. She's still got a 7 or 8 metre lead, and Gebrselassie now just changes gear a little bit. She's the one with a big kick, and is she going to run down Lyndon Hall? Looks as though she may. The Australian now looks a little bit tired, and Gebrselassie still having to work hard. Gisette Norris is chasing, but Lyndon Hall might have enough to hang on to second. We'll see. But it's Gebrselassie who's going to come away from the win. The Ethiopian, it's going to be just outside 4 minutes, 4-2. Lyndon Hall second. Norris takes third spot again, same as she did last week, and then Perez and Riki chasing it. Well, what a strange race that was, really. Only Lyndon Hall thought, OK, Chanel Price is going at a reasonable pace. It's not that fast. She went out, attacked it, or didn't even attack it, I guess, just went with the pace, but found herself a little bit in no man's land then with 500 metres to go. And it wasn't until, I think, the 150 mark that Gebrselassie finally looked as though she could run the Australian down, but nobody else managed to do it.
Absolutely right, yeah. Gebrselassie I suppose, had that target, and with that 3:56 form, she is 2 or 3 seconds on paper quicker than Lyndon Hall. But a brilliant run from the Australian, really gave it her all. I like to see athletes really commit like that. Why nobody else went with her here, as she decides to try and go with Chanel Price? I don't know. Norris there in 3rd place, the new name from the USA, didn't quite have the legs through the last 400 metres, but an athlete of Gebreziba's calibre had that target of Lyndon Hall. Of course, every metre you gain on somebody, so your adrenaline increases and you realise the race is coming back to you. Wins fairly comfortably eventually, but that's a great run from Lyndon Hall as well.
Yeah, I think they just, when Lyndon Hall went past and went after the pacemaker, there was kind of looking around and everybody wondering whether they should do or should move as well. I think Machessa was the one who was sitting in that position and the others just didn't follow. And Norris maybe should have done. She's stronger. She needs a good, strong, hard race as well. Didn't quite have the pace to go with Gebreziba when they changed up at the end. So Gebreziba takes the win. Hall, very good 2nd place. Norris, 3rd for the 2nd week in a row.
So Casey Lightfoot, one of the big finds of this season, the 21-year-old American, was 4th in Tokyo. Here he goes, 3rd and final attempt at 5:62 for Lightfoot. Oh, no. No, he had the height, but straight up and straight down, and on the down leg came through the bar. He's a 5:85 vaulter. Used that at Eugene at the US Olympic trials, where he finished in 2nd place. But the USA have got this production line of great vaulters. He's up against a strong field here as Casey Lightfoot, ranked 8th in the world, but he will be a little bit frustrated. That's a best height of 5:52.
So Nicola McDermott, after a nice clearance at 189, now a first attempt at 192. Still got the tights on, and no wonder it's getting pretty chilly here. It certainly feels chilly. So the Australian in form of her life, and that's nice. That's very, very good. Well, she's celebrating 192 as though it was 2 meters too. Such a happy character and enjoying every single minute of what's happening to her in 2021. Captured a lot of interest, the way she marks herself in a book after every single jump. Doesn't matter which competition, whether it's qualifying, in the finals, where it is. 10 out of 10 for that. Mahuchik next. No. Well, similarly to 189 when she had 2 attempts, she's going to have the same here with 192. Just coming down on that. She had the height, just needs to make an adjustment. I said it's difficult when the wind's blowing straight at you down the length of the stadium and it's gusting. Not so easy to judge. So Lazarskina then, first attempt. Well, they're kind of just I'm sure they will go higher and clear these heights, Lazarskina and Mahuchik, etc. But these failures will add up. So McDermott, the only one with a clean slate so far at 192. Lazarskina, as ever, she just always looks not necessarily annoyed with herself. The Olympic champion, just a little frustrated, perhaps.
So Litvinenko then. Second attempt for her at 192. A lot of crosses on the cards for the top 5 or 6 athletes here. Surprisingly early, but maybe the conditions explaining that. No, not close either. Little Litvinenko took 3 attempts at 1.85 m, then popped over 189 first time. 2 failures for her now, 192. It's all or nothing next effort.
I think you're right, Tim. You know, Demireva's already gone, Levchenko has already gone. Garashenko had a good competition in Eugene last week. This is her second attempt. Ukraine with, well, as I said, Levchenko, the one who's been just left behind a little bit, because Garashenko has certainly stepped up. Mahuchik, the star of Ukrainian high jumping. There we go. Just a very slight rattle of the bar. Second time for Garashenko. So she actually moves into second place at this point. Still early stages, although it might not need too much to win this tonight.
Yeah, they are tough conditions, Steve. Patterson of Australia, who was fifth in Tokyo, went out with the best clearance at 185. 3 failures for her at 189. But the wind, and this gusting wind that we keep talking about, we're talking about it a lot because we're hoping it'll die down and give these athletes nicer conditions. But it should be behind these fellas in the 110-metre hurdles. There is Schmidt. And there has been a change of lanes. Yeah. Koen Schmidt, who's a 1350 athlete this year. Martineau Lagarde goes in lane 2. He was due to be in lane 8. There has been a very late change of lanes. Martineau Lagarde, of course, 4th in Rio, 5th in Tokyo. Won here back in 2014, the Frenchman. And then Jason Joseph of Switzerland, European under-23 champion back in 2019, a semi-finalist in Tokyo. Set a personal best just 12 days ago. There is Ronald Levy, Tokyo bronze medalist and Commonwealth champion back in 2018, in great form, the Jamaican. And Devon Allen, well, second in the US Olympic trials, a frustrating 4th at the actual games in Tokyo, the American. 13:10 he's run this year, very close to his lifetime best. But here is the reigning Olympic champion, Hansel Parchment, goes in lane 6. Parchment, bronze medalist in London 2012, really under the radar a little bit in Tokyo, but he took that gold. Daniel Roberts goes in lane 7. The 3rd in the Olympic trials as a semi-finalist at the games for the USA. And then Andy Pozzi goes in lane 8. He was due to have been over in lane 1. There's just been this little shuffling of lanes. So Rashid Broadbell pulled out. So there's been this redraw. Broadbell of Jamaica, world number 6. Didn't run in Tokyo. So that lineup again from the far side to the right of the picture in lane 1. Koen Schmidt of the Netherlands in personal best form, but on paper by some margin the slowest in this field. Can he improve yet further with this following wind that we expect? Martineau Lagarde goes in 2. Jason Joseph in 3. Ronald Levy goes in 4. The Tokyo bronze medalist. Devon Allen in 5. He was 4th in Tokyo. Parchment, the Olympic champion, in 6. Second to the left, Daniel Roberts, the USA, and Andy Pozzi, the world indoor champion, to the left in lane 8 for Great Britain. Well, really good start there. And looking strong at the moment is Devon Allen, and also going well on the near side is Parchment. Parchment hits that bar, and Devon Allen's going to take this one. He goes away quite comfortably there. Well, really impressive from Devon Allen. Kept it together. Jason Joseph also had a really strong run for the Swiss. Best of 13:12 just 12 days ago, and then he won in Bern 5 days ago. The wind plus 2.9, it was blowing them into those barriers, and that might be what upset Parchment. And you've got too strong a following wind in the hurdles. Of course, the wind blows you and your stride pattern gets upset, and you get up too close to the barriers, and Parchment hit, was it hurdle 7, something like that, pretty hard. We'll have a look at the replay. Quick time from Allen, 13:07, but for that following wind being over the limit, it would be a season's best, but he won't be bothered about that. Takes the race and some big names in his wake.
Yeah, disappointment for the Olympic champion, who ended up walking in the end. This was one of the great stories, wasn't it, Parchment, about, you know, he got on the wrong bus, didn't need to go to the stadium in the Olympics, and a volunteer got him a taxi, and then he went back and thanked that volunteer. It was a great story, but he needed a bit of help here tonight. Devon Allen hit, I think it was the 2nd and 4th flights, but then got smooth, and Parchment smashes that one. Another one after that, completely off balance, walks it in, and Devon Allen takes the win. As you were saying, Tim, the wind's sadly just a little bit stronger. Allen did well to readjust after he absolutely clattered the second barrier And there's Parchment almost off balance, almost falling over. Well done to Jason John, huge cheer for him in front of his home crowd. But Alan, just too good for the others. Martin Lagarde, solid run from him as well. Would you say that was the biggest surprise of the Olympics? Or certainly was one of them, wasn't it? Parchment winning the 110 hurdles. I mean, Holloway was one of the hottest favourites, wasn't he?
Well, he was, yeah, and I think a lot of people wondered what happened to Holloway, but you've got to remember, Parchment turns up and gets the job done. He's so experienced. Bronze medalist in London, Steve, back in 2012, and a silver medal in between London and Tokyo at the World Championships in 2015. There's the win for Alan, 13.07 ahead of Joseph and Martin Lagarde, all those three under 13.20.
Well, Chris Nielsen, what a brilliant Olympic Games for the man from Kansas. His teammate, Casey Lightfoot, already out in the pole vault. Actually, they're both from Kansas. I think their families were actually watching the games together. And Nielsen, he's a real character. He's had a bit of an up and down journey to get this level in the sport. He said it's almost been a series of accidents. How he came to be a pole vaulter. Started out as a bit of a high jumper, didn't quite know what he wanted to do, and then had to go at the pole vault. And look where he is now. Olympic medalist, and going well here tonight, putting a little bit of pressure on Kendricks and indeed Duplantis. More of him in a second. We'll catch up with what Duplantis has been up to, but Nielsen going clear at 5.82, and he's had first-time clearances all the way through so far. Not been the case for Duplantis.
And Steve, Nielsen very positive all the time. Comes in his competitions with a smile, set a personal best for that silver in Tokyo. Thompson head up, going in that 100, Steve, and of course so close to the world record in Prefontaine on Saturday over 100 metres. What can she do here tonight? Let's hope the wind is strong but legal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's hovering around that 2-metre mark. Well, I mentioned that at 5.62 he took 2 attempts. Is this now 5.82? Well, let's put it this way. He was high enough to go over the bar. Just coming down on the bar, a little shake of the head. He'll make an adjustment, I'm pretty sure, here. That wind that we keep talking about, and that top bend, it's almost coming off his left shoulder quite strongly. And that can affect just on the run-up. So first, a failure. His first attempt, 5.82.
Don't think there's much doubt, is there, that the height is there for Mondo Duplantis. See now Timur Morganov, second attempt for him at 5.82. European Championship silver medalist back in 2018, the Russian. No, couldn't get that one right either. Wasn't amongst the Russians lucky enough to get a ticket to Tokyo. He's a 6-metre vaulter, that was at those European Championships back in 2018 in Berlin, but Morganov there, second time failure. Cleared 5.72 at the second time of asking. He has cleared 5.90 this year, and actually I think he's got the height there, but again, a bit like Duplantis, just not the penetration across the line of the bar.
Yeah, I think he's a real talent, Tim. When you watch his career, he hasn't had as many chances to compete because of the restrictions placed on the Russian athletes, but he is one of those now. ANA athlete who's allowed to compete, but you're right, they only were allowed 10 at the Olympic Games. But he's definitely got the chance to mix it with the best guys, including Kendricks, for whom the Olympics was such a disappointment. A late positive test for COVID while he was in Tokyo meant he couldn't compete. Americans couldn't replace him either, it was too late. But as ever, he took it all in his stride, although I think for the first time that I've seen, some of the statements and posts from Kendricks had a little bit of an air of frustration, let's put it at that, because he's normally such a positive character.
Well, I chatted to him this afternoon, Steve, bumped into him in the hotel lobby, and I said, Sam, I couldn't believe how calm you were. He did an interview once he'd been quarantined in his room, and he sounded very, very calm and philosophical. He said, well, don't let them see you sweat, Tim. And I think he was saying he was as frustrated as anybody else, but he just gave a very good impression of somebody who was calm and taking it on the chin. but that's a great clearance from Kendricks there. Second on clearance at 5.82. Only the second man clear. Chris Nielsen, his teammate, has the initiative without a failure yet, up to and including this height. And Duplantis will be next to go. His second attempt, I've got a sneaking feeling he might make it. So there's plenty more life in this contest.
Well, yes, only 4 men left in it, though, Tim. You're right. Nielsen, Kendricks, Morganov, who we've just seen fail, and Duplantis next to go. See that, I'm sure, once we get this men's 3,000 underway. Conversation there between Ingebrigtsen and Stewie McSweyn, who've raced each other quite a few times this year. McSweyn chose to try and chase Ingebrigtsen through to a medal he'd hoped to. Of course, Ingebrigtsen went on to run a stunning race in the 1500 and take the gold medal. McSweyn, I think some people are thinking he might have had to go at the 5,000 meters. Well, you've got the coming together here of Olympic medalists all over the place here. Barrega, you've just seen, we'll talk about him in a second, but Ahmed, what Olympic Games he had. A little bit disappointing in the 10,000, and then a silver medal. Canada's first in the 5,000 meters. Crop, Philip Ingebrigtsen, Wale, things didn't turn out well for the steeplechaser, the Ethiopian steeplechaser, in the way he would have liked. Grant Fisher, who also doubled up, the American who really did impress in Tokyo with his performances. But we'll all be watching this man, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, men's 3,000 meters. So pace that's been asked for is a nice even, 60 seconds per lap, heading for 2K at that pace, and then let's see what happens after that. Will they bring it well under 7:30? Well, who knows, it's certainly capable of it, but this wind, sorry to go on about it, but just if you do sit at home and you're wondering why aren't they running quicker, that may be why. So Eric Sawinski, the American, and Vincent Capet have the pacemaking duties, and they quietly make their way to the front. And McSweyn, as ever, will want this to be hard and quick for as long as possible. Always gives him the best chance as Ingebrigtsen. And Kipsang himself, great 1500 meter pace. We'll be interested to see how he goes here. So decent start in terms of pace, Tim, but the others just starting to take a little while to get on the back of the Australian who's in the yellow.
Yeah, I was going to say, Steve, one thing I'm fairly certain of is that if Eric Sawinski doesn't hit the splits here, that Stewie McSweyn in the yellow will take it up and run hard from the front. I had a chat with him this morning. He said, yep, I'm feeling great. I've been sleeping well since I came over from Eugene at the weekend. My legs are still feeling good. I'm planning to go to Zurich, where I'm qualified for the 5,000 and the 1,500 at the Diamond League final. I've got to decide whether to do both or not, but he said, I'm really up for this and enjoying myself. And actually, Steve, talking about Ingebrigtsen at the press conference yesterday, I said to him, you know, you're hold the European record of 1,500 and 5,000. 3,000 you're probably your best distance, isn't it? He just went, yes.
I know.
Very firmly.
He's not the first athlete who you could say that. And it's an intriguing race. You bring together Barrega, the Olympic 10,000 meter champion, the Olympic 1,500 meter champion, and Ingebrigtsen, the silver medalist in the 5,000, Mohammed, and then, but you'd still look at McSweyn and say, you know, you wouldn't be surprised if he was in the top 3 here tonight. So he had a little look behind there and is wondering where the others are. They're being just blocked up by Ingebrigtsen, who's not quite sure whether he wants to just tag on to the back of the Australian, but by not doing it, he's effectively leading that bunch, particularly in the windy back straight. So 2 pacemakers have been spot on, following the lights. You can see on the inside of the track, 60-second pace, absolutely right. And now Ingebrigtsen just easing himself up the Australian, which I think is wise.
Well, I was just going to say, there's one thing you can say about Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He gets his tactics right again and again, race after race. He recognised the danger, and solo, he's crossed that gap and is now more or less back in touch with that leading trail and on the shoulder of Stewie McSweyn. And he's got to respect McSweyn. You know, McSweyn's a sub-7:30 3,000 guy, a 3:48 miler. He's a fabulously quick 5,000 metre runner. So now the race is on, and this is pretty much what we expected. McSweyn against Ingebrigtsen. If anybody else can get involved, they have now got to cross that gap. So there's about 8 metres between the pack and that leading 4.
Great pacemaking over the first, well, he's effectively done 3 laps, Sawinski. He only had to go to 1,000, but he's done a little bit extra there and left Quebec out in front, just protected him from the wind down that back straight. So McSweyn and Ingebrigtsen have got a good 15-metre lead to the chasing pack, and that pack obviously includes Ahmed, it includes Barrega, Edris is there as well, Balu towards the back of that pack, just trying to get a little bit closer up. Indeed, Ahmed a little bit further back. I'm saying he's in that pack. He's having to work something. You can just see him in the white and the red shorts following the American Grant Fisher. But these three, that lead is increasing. They're not catching them up at all. These three just, with the pacemaker, the two main men there, just increasing this to a good 20 metres, maybe more now.
Well, I'm really surprised, Steve, that Barrega let that gap develop. Why didn't he go with Ingebrigtsen? He had almost a perfect pacemaker to cross the gap. But now that's 20 metres, and Barrega and the other big names in that group, Edris, twice world champion at 5,000 metres, have let the race go, and it's going to be a very, very tough second half for them if they're to get back to those two big names behind Quebec.
Well, I don't think that's going to be something they can do, because if you think it was somebody who's going with the pace who can't hold it, then yes, maybe, but not these two. They're well capable of keeping it going, and it's McSwain who will be at the front, and he's been watching the screen as they head down the back straight. Another 60-second lap. Really good pacemaking for these two guys, setting them up for something under 7:30. Now, how much can Quebec keep going? The danger is Quebec slowing here. He's next stepping out. McSwain needs to recognise that and not give the chasing pack even a sniff of getting back to them. As they head down the back straight, they'll have 1,000 metres left, 2.5 laps. Ingebrigtsen getting protection from the Australian. Will he help him? I doubt it.
Well, you know what, Steve? He won't help him, but Stuart McSwain is used to this. It's a familiar scenario from him. He's run fields over the last couple of years into the ground from the front. It'll be quite hard to push this on. The gap probably 20 metres, maybe closing a little bit back to the pack. And you're right, Ingebrigtsen won't help him at all, but Stuart McSwain will be happy with this situation. He likes to be in control. He likes to call the shots. And if anything, actually, that gap has just over the last couple of hundred has opened a couple more metres. So they come through, and another, 62-second lap. It's slowed a bit, but there hasn't been much impression from the pack.
Yeah, the two at the front, Ingebrigtsen's just sitting and waiting, and while he does that, Aragawi chasing hard, Edris and Barrega trying to work towards him as well, but they're not actually able to go with Aragawi, which is a surprise. Barrega finally getting moving, goes past Edris, but McSwain and Ingebrigtsen are checking behind. 600 metres to go. Ingebrigtsen looks incredibly comfortable, but that gap is closing. Aragawi doing his best to get up there, but he's having to work so hard, and even if he gets close at the bell, you just feel these two will then move away on the last lap. So McSwain leading, just starting to look a little tired. Ingebrigtsen sitting where he is happy to be. Another little glance behind, sees Aragawi has closed it to about 8-9 metres, but they're approaching the bell.
The only thing I think, Steve, is Aragawi is having to work so hard to get to them as they come to the bell in 6:35. It has slowed. The first K 2:29, the second K was about 2:32, and Aragawi is having to work so hard to get back up to them. Surely he won't be able to keep that acceleration going.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he goes straight past them or sits in behind, because Ingebrigtsen is still waiting, and Aragawi does go past. And Ingebrigtsen surely will just step out and follow. McSwain trying to check who else is there. Nobody is the answer. He's going to be left in third. So the chase on at the front. Aragawi, who's done a great job of trying to chase them down. He's done that. The Olympic finalists at 10,000 metres taking on the Olympic champion at 1,500 metres. Surely there's only one result here. A brave effort from Aragawi, and Ingebrigtsen's having to work very hard. Aragawi looks at him as if to say, is that all you've got? And he's got just enough. Ingebrigtsen steals the win in the end. Only hit the front of the race in the last 30 metres, but it was enough. Looked a little tired, I think, Ingebrigtsen there. I'm sure if he'd felt better, would have gone earlier and not let Aragawi catch them. But hats off to Aragawi. What a brave run from the youngster. Showed a lot of strength and a lot of commitment to get back to those two. Wasn't scared to go past them. And it was an interesting little look, wasn't it? Because I think he thought Ingebrigtsen's going to fly by me. He didn't quite manage that, but he did get the win.
Well, Aragawi ran fantastically strongly, didn't he? His second half must be astonishing, his splits. Steve, I think one thing we've got to remember is that the wind has picked up. I'm looking over at the flags now near the start of the 1500 metres. They're blowing pretty stiffly. I think down the back straight in each lap they were running into a really strong wind. So 7:33 by Ingebrigtsen and Aragawi. Stewie McSwain a battling third in 7:35.06. I think those are great times in these conditions.
Yeah, maybe Aragawi, I mean, yet another great Ethiopian. You know, he wasn't one of the better-known athletes to get the nod to go and run in the 10,000 metres. They had such a strong 10,000-metre trial, and they left others out of it. And, of course, Barega went on to win the title, but Aragawi, just 20 years of age, showing no fear at this point. And you would have expected Ingebrigtsen just to put the burners on. But Aragawi had run so hard, as you made the point, to get there. You're expecting maybe he'd just have to wave goodbye to Ingebrigtsen. But look at this, when he came onto his shoulder, he really had to pick up and keep working hard, and Aragawi almost held him off, not quite. So the Norwegian, the Olympic champion at 1500, wins the 3000 here tonight. But a lot of tired athletes, I think, Tim, in that race. And McSwain just hanging on for third spot.
It's frustrating, isn't it, because we won't know how much quicker they could have run in better conditions. It's not a warm evening, and it's certainly a very breezy evening, but that is a great racing, Steve, and we shouldn't get so caught up, I suppose. It's so tempting as fans of the sport, as commentators who enjoy these great middle distance races, to talk about times all the time. There's the father of Jakob Ingebrigtsen now. Mondo Duplantis in a bit of trouble. Third and final attempt at 5:82 for the Olympic champion. Oh, no. That for Duplantis is a real shock, a real turn-up. Not right here tonight. Passed at 5:72, a height that Chris Nielsen and Sam Kendricks both popped over first time. Duplantis here tonight will finish no better than fourth. It's been a long time, Steve. We'll have to go back to the book to see when he last finished outside the first three in a pole vault competition. I suspect it's over 3 years ago.
And it's more frustrating for him than for us watching him, with the fans and everything. The height is there. We were just saying, just in terms of that, getting the high point over the bar, all to do with run-up, penetration, when that's something which he's done 1,000 times, more than 1,000 times, of course he has, but couldn't quite get the adjustment right. And, well, it's not often you see the guys go over and say, tough luck, mate, never mind, not your night tonight. But it's not, still it's full of smiles. Mahuchik in the high jump. Second attempt. There we go. 195. And this, similar to the pole vault, is very quickly getting narrowed down. But the four main athletes, if you like, still there. Lazitskina, Mahuchik, McDermott, Garashenko. Mahuchik's second attempt is over. But it is tricky. Really tricky, not to mention a little chilly.
So McDermott then, here she goes. 192 cleared, here she is at 195. Third time of asking, and that what's almost becoming a traditional celebration for her now, that stamping. Doesn't wear her heart keep it to herself, does she? Wears her heart very much on her sleeve, and it's great to see. Wonderful silver medal in Tokyo. So much more to come, surely, from this athlete who is getting in amongst the best of the Eastern Europeans, the Lasitskanes and Mahuchiks and the Twinkos. Gerashenko. Lasitskane. Third time clearance at 195. Will be angry at herself there for putting herself in that position, but she fights on, and these are good heights in these conditions, you know.
I think she set her personal best here in Lausanne a few years back, and I think we were here on that night, and it was a very warm, balmy evening, very different to this. But Sam Kendricks has got a chance here to put himself in the lead here. Nobody yet clear. We've just seen Duplantis go out at the previous height of 5.82, so 5.92 now. You can see his card there. It took 2 attempts to get over 5.82, Kendricks. Nielsen maybe just checking what the situation is in terms of... well, he's watching the clock as well, Kendricks. It's been a little while. Nielsen watching on. Can Kendricks put the pressure on here? Duplantis and Morganov not going clear. Morganov, as Tim was saying, finishing ahead of Duplantis on countback for a 3rd place. Now it's between these last two. Kendricks, 3rd attempt, 5.92. No. Really tricky conditions tonight. Now, on countback, and I think that's maybe what Nielsen was checking, because Sam had 2 attempts at 5.82, it means Nielsen will win this. He does have the chance, the opportunity to go on if he wants to. But that's it for Kendricks. So Kendricks will finish in 2nd place in the pole vault. Not really close on that occasion. Not an easy night for the technical events.
Well, this in its own way is a very technical event, the women's 100 metres. The athletes lined up, and I think we have got a full turnout in this one. Low lane adjustments. There is Alexandra Burkhardt of Germany, semi-finalist in Tokyo, the German champion. Very close to her personal best in the heat and semi in Tokyo. She had a good game. That's her personal best, 11.01 from early July. Angela Del Ponte of Switzerland, 5th in Tokyo. Listen to this. Massive personal best 12 days ago in La Chaux de Fonds when she ran 10.90. She's been in very fine form since Tokyo. She won in Bern 5 days ago. There's Marie-Josée Tallot of the Ivory Coast, 4th in Tokyo in the 100, 5th in the 200. She won here back in 2018, but so frustrated with those near misses in major championships all the time. In lane 4, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, arguably the greatest sprinter in history. At the age of 34, still fabulous. Took 2nd in Tokyo in the 100, 4th in the 200. Won here back in 2019. Shericka Jackson, bronze medalist in Tokyo. Remember, the Jamaicans took a 1-2-3 in the 100 metres. Took a bronze in the 400 in Rio in 49.8. In lane 6, it is, of course, the one and only Elaine Thompson-Herah of Jamaica. The Rio Olympic champion, the Tokyo Olympic champion. Number 2 all-time after 10.54 at Prefontaine last Saturday. If the wind had been stronger but legal, she'd probably have broken the world record. Another darling of the Swiss crowd, Mujinga Kambunji, goes in lane 7, a semi-finalist in Tokyo, was 7th in the 200, but was 1/100th off her personal best in Eugene on Saturday. And she had a big win over 200 metres and ran so well in the 100. Daryl Neato we saw just then. For Great Britain goes in lane 8, left of picture as we look at them from above. This camera on the wires flitting around above the athletes, high above the arena floor. It's been quite busy. Some spectacular pictures. Daryl Neato, semi-finalist in Tokyo. 10.96 she ran for a new personal best in her heat at the Olympic Games. So Burkhardt in 1, Del Ponte in 2, watch her, Tallot in 3, Fraser-Pryce in 4, 9 times a world champion, Jackson in 5, Elaine Thompson, the Olympic champion, in 6, Kambunji 7, Nita in 8. Good start there from Tallot, 3rd from right, but look at Fraser-Pryce building a lead here, but here comes Thompson-Herah in the green headband. Is she going to get there? Not on this occasion, she's not, no. The pair of them with a 2-metre gap behind them. The winning time, 10.60, and the win, 1.7. And last, they get a legal win that is near the limit, 10.60. It is a meeting record. Marion Jones had the previous meeting record 23 years ago in 1998. Jones ran 10.72. Well, it's just been improved by probably a metre and more. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, quite spectacular there. And the place time, Thompson-Herah, 10.64. And that's a personal best for Fraser-Pryce, of course, by 3/100ths of a second. It's a 1-2-3 for Jamaica. The same three athletes getting medals as dominated the Tokyo 100, but in a slightly different order. Fraser-Pryce swapping with Thompson Hera, who settles for 10.64. I'm not sure, Steve, but I suspect that's the quickest ever second place, 10.64. There's a good quiz question. Everybody, all those guys out there watching this, rushing to their stats books. Sherika Jackson, 10.92 for third.
It's a good question, Tim. Yeah, as the Jamaican flag, I was going to say flutters, it's standing proudly. Do you know, this was interesting because every time we've watched in the sort of second half of the season, Fraser-Pryce always gets a better start. Jackson got left a little bit in the blocks here, which is why she wasn't up with the other two, still got third. And then at this point in the race, what normally happens is, as Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce just starts to slow a little bit, then Thompson Hera comes up and normally takes the win. But Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, at the age of 34, just kept going. Yes, the wind was on her back, but as you said, Tim, a legal win, and she just maintains much better here, even than we saw at the Olympics. And I'm sure Thompson Hera was thinking, I'm going to catch you, I'm going to catch you, I'm going to catch you, but no, wasn't going to happen tonight. We know the rivalry between them is strong, and we know that Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce would have loved to have had this result to be the one that happened in Tokyo. Wasn't to be for her. Some consolation, though, to be still running personal best at this stage of her career is absolutely phenomenal.
Spectacular place times that women's 100 metres, the first six under 11 seconds. Nita equaling her personal best there in fifth place, 10.96. But what a run from Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Never write her off. She's so consistent.
Lazitskene in the women's high jump. Third time clearance at 195, a clutch clearance for the Olympic champion. And now, though, has a chance to grab hold of this competition. A little shaky early on. And there you go. That's what she always has in her pocket. Lazitskene has the ability to make the higher heights look easy. And all of a sudden, a first-time clearance at 198. And she leads, putting the pressure on the others. It has been a struggle tonight for everybody, but that's as good as we've seen. Look, I want to get my kit on quickly, she says.
Well, McDermott then, third and final attempt for the Australian at 198. Oh, that was close. Oh, that was very close. But it's been a great contest, and she's put away some big names with that third time clearance at 195. Her best of the night. Will finish in third place. Very close, and there are big heights yet to come, and she's had a long season too, has Nicola McDermott. Commonwealth bronze medalist back in 2018. But you've got to remember, these Southern Hemisphere athletes have been competing since January, February through March, the Aussie Championships in April.
Mahuchik then, third attempt, can she do it? Oh! Springs in her feet. Well, she's got a completely kind of different style, gets right under the bar, and then what a clearance that was. Just watch this. Couldn't see it from that angle, but there you go, there you can see much better from Mahuchik, and she needed that third time clearance at 198, so she joins Lazitskene clear at that height. The denouement of the pole vault.
That's a long word, Steve.
Thanks.
Yeah, third and final attempt at 592 for Chris Nielsen. No, not to be. It's the first height at which he's come up against a challenge, Chris Nielsen. It's been a great night for him. And like McDermott, he just enjoys himself. He smiles all the time. What a great contest it's been. He's taken some big names, left them in his wake here tonight. Duplantis, the world record holder, suffering a rare defeat with only a second time clearance to show at 562 as his best of the night. Chris Nielsen there. First time clearances all the way through, 572 and 582. And Sam Kendricks has had his three failures at this height as well. But Nielsen victorious. There's the card. Kendricks and Nielsen separated 1-2 for the USA. Morganov, a solid third, isolated there ahead of Duplantis. And Renaud Lavillenie tonight really out of sorts with 5:32.
So the bar goes higher. And Lazarskene looked superb with that clearance at 198, but only 2 women left now. So first attempt. Sorry, second attempt. No. Actually, you know, when she, I did just check, 2017 was when she set their personal best here at 2.6 meters. That was in the middle of that amazing streak where she had 45 wins in a row. I think it was the Wanda Diamond League in 2018 where she finally succumbed to defeat. And then over the last couple of years, of course, there was a period where she couldn't compete due to the restrictions on the Russian athletes. And she, you have to say, she has stood up for Russian athletes against her own federation, been very vociferous.
Here is Mahuchek then, third and final attempt for her at 2:01. No. Has to settle for defeat on this occasion at the hands of the Olympic champion, the 3-time world champion. If you're going to lose, then it's losing somebody of that caliber. There's nothing to be ashamed of. She's had a good evening. Third-time clearance at 198. Her best. She is still, we have to remember, only 19. She was second at the World Championships back in 2019 in Doha at the age of 17, behind Lasitskene. Won the European indoor title earlier on this year in March in Torun, Poland. Has a wonderful temperament for the big occasions.
So we sweep down with the overhead camera to the far end of the stadium where that high jump is taking place, but they'll have to pause for this women's 400-meter hurdles and another of the memorable races we saw at the Tokyo Olympic Games. And we've got 2 of the big 3 here tonight. Kachuk will go in lane 8. The Ukrainian 26-year-old has set a new personal best in the Olympic Games of 53.79, so some startling times there. Leah Sprunger finding good form at the back end of the season, and indeed running a season's best in Bern in Switzerland just last week, 54.51. Hugely popular, has talked about retiring. I'm sure her fans will want her not to do so. She's only 31. Geneva Russell, 4th, outside of the medals, but not by much. She was 53.08. And you think about how quick Dalila Mohammed ran. The former world record holder, of course, had to give way to Sydney McLaughlin and held off Femke Bol, who herself with 52.03. You know, if you'd said a couple of years ago you're going to go to the Olympics and run 52.03 in the final and you'd only be 3rd, well, I'm sure that bronze medal is something she's very proud of, because of course Shamir Little, who's raced Femke Bol so many times this year, didn't even make the American team. Her worst race of the season at the American trials. She's run really well in almost every competition other than that. Had to watch that brilliant Olympic race. Ryskova herself, who performed so well in Stockholm with Ball and Little earlier in the season to set that sub-53 clocking you saw there against her name. And then Leah Nugent, another Olympic finalist. The Jamaican will go in lane 1. Well, it is tricky for everybody. I know you're probably fed up with us talking about the conditions, but again, in 400 hurdles, when stride pattern is so important, this wind is not helping at all. Down the back straight will be almost right in their faces. So Shamir Little will be able to sight the other 2. She's in lane 3. Femke Bol, the 21-year-old Dutch athlete, in lane 4. Mohammed, 2-time world champion. World champion from London, sorry, excuse me, in 2019, is in lane 5. Femke Bol had such a busy Olympic Games, and she's made such an impression on the European circuit over the last couple of years. She ran the mixed relay and the 4x4 for her team, as well as the individual, of course, 400 hurdles. So she is in between the 2 Americans, Little in 3, Mohammed in lane 5. Clean start. Femke Bol normally just gets left a little bit by Dalila Mohammed, who always starts very quickly indeed, and Bol will try and chase and try and stay in contact while sticking to her own stride pattern. And as a developing athlete at this event, she knows that this is something she can work on and get better at. Russell has started quickly outside as well in lane 6, and Dalila Mohammed looks a little bit out of sorts at the minute as Femke Bol and Shamir Little go screaming past Dalila Mohammed, and Shamir Little is the one who may well just have the advantage as they come round with 3 to go. Shamir Little just a half a metre ahead of Bol, and Bol, this is where she's always so strong over the last 2 flights, neck and neck the two of them, nothing to choose. The Dutch athlete maybe just edging it at the moment, and away she comes off the last barrier. Brilliantly done by Femke Bol, takes it in 53.06. That's another meeting record. Shamir Little really strong until that last barrier, and that's what Bol is so good at. And when she just keeps improving and gets better, I'm not saying she's going to beat Sydney McLaughlin, who herself is just a youngster still, but she has so much potential still to give. You just wonder how quick these women will be able to go at the 400-metre hurdles. But tonight it was all about a big win against a very good field, and Bol delivered superbly well.
Well, it was dragged out of her, wasn't it, by a brave run from Shamir Little in lane 3. Had the field in her sights, ran a nicely measured first 300 did Shamir Little. Came into the straight, so what, a half a metre or so in the lead. But Bol has that quality, Steve, which is rare, and that is to be so strong down the home straight, and in particular off the final barrier. You were dead right. Early on, you called it as an uncharacteristically low-quality run from Dalila Mohammed in lane 5, the Olympic silver medalist, former world record holder. But Shamir Little here giving the top European a fabulous run for her money, meeting record by 2/100ths of a second, and going away. And there was certainly more in the legs of Femke Bol there. There's no sign of faltering. That's what's impressive. Clears that final barrier really strongly and almost lengthens her stride as the line approaches.
Yeah, look really good. You can see what it meant to her as well. She's had some good battles, hasn't she, with Shamir Little this year. And I said in the introduction there that not one that happened at the Olympic Games, because she then had to take on Mohammed and Sydney McLaughlin. And, you know, she ran so well there and had a busy schedule. And I was chatting to one of the Dutch managers and saying, what impact did it have and has it had? And Dutch athletics have had such a big resurgence in the sprints and in the 400. Of course, their men winning the 4x4 relay medal. And apparently this young lady is a big star at home, and why not? Big win for her tonight. Congratulations from Leah Sprunger, who just about almost caught Mohammed, but not quite. Finished in 5th place. But she contended well, or best, with the conditions, winning 53.05, that new meeting record. Little second, 53.78. Mohammed had to settle for 4th.
Well, we can go for this women's triple jump now. 15.56 so far for Rojas. That was her opener. It's a Diamond League record, it's a meeting record, and don't let's forget that this is the lady who took gold in Tokyo with a new world record, 15.67. Now, the win behind that 15.56 opener was plus 3.5, but the next couple of jumps, it was legal. She no-jumped in round 2, and the wind staying down over the last couple of jumps. And that one, the wind is legal as well. Rojas in very fine fettle, that's for sure. World champion in 2017 and 2019, and already in fabulous form, and 15.56 with a following win. And this one coming down at 15.42. That's the Diamond League record, in fact, and a meeting record. And Steve, she's still not happy. She's ambitious, isn't she?
Well, when you think there's only her and Inessa Kravets have ever jumped further than that distance she's just jumped, 15.42, a legal jump, that is, and yet she's walking away as though, no, you know, it's not so good. She's going to be the celebrity at the Barcelona match on Sunday. She's going to kick off the match between Barcelona and Getafe. More of that in a second. This is Athletissima, third attempt. Well, she had the competition won, and you can forgive her for, I think, wanting to get the tracksuit on and get back into the warm. It's been a tricky night in the high jump, but that beautiful clearance at 198, good enough to win the competition on countback, because up until that point she wasn't leading, but the first time clearance at 198 put her back in the lead. Mahuchik wasn't able to go over first time, and neither of them clear at 2 meters 1, so Athletissima is the winner tonight. Mahuchik will take second place ahead of Nicola McDermott, but the Olympic champion showing why she is still the best. Mahuchik is getting better, and the youngster one day may take over, but Athletissima is not giving way at this point.
Well, the men's javelin down to the final 3 situation. Here is Anderson Peters with his 4th round effort, going out to 84.32, the Grenadian. Peters qualifying in Tokyo. He is the world champion from 2019. What can he do when this final 3 situation unfolds eventually? Vadlec, all his best, coming in round 2 from the first 5 rounds, and that easing over 85 meters, 85.73. But Johannes Vetter, one of the major shocks in a negative way of the Olympic Games in Tokyo, was the world #1 who had threatened the world record earlier in the season, finishing down in 9th place at the Tokyo Olympic Games in round 3, 88.54 for the big German, the world champion in London 2017. So there's the 3 that will contest the victory with this now or nothing final 3 situation. Anderson Peters first to go, the Pan Am Games champion in 2019. Grenada's first ever Pan American Games gold medalist. Nice technician, big powerful pull there, but that one falls flat. It's about 72 meters by the looks of things, Peters, and I don't think that's really laid down too much of a challenge for the other fellas.
No, he just got the angle all wrong here. You could see it stalling. You know, they're throwing into the wind, which isn't always a bad thing if you can get the flight right, but you've got to, you've got to hit that. It's a pretty kind of small window, get the angle right, but it went way too steeply and stalled badly in an attempt to try and put pressure on the other 2, but yeah, not something which they're going to be too scared of. 72.48 for Anderson Peters. So Vadlec next to go. So the Czech athlete, silver medalist at the Olympic Games, just trying to wait for his moment here. Can he get it right? That looks a little better, but not much. Not much. And a little rueful smile from him, and he knows that he's left the door wide open here for Johannes Vetter. Well, he was second going into this, so he's probably going to think, well, at least I'm going to finish second here, certainly further than Anderson Peters. But unless Vetter does something pretty horrendous here, Vadlec will have to settle for second. Yeah, that win for Chopra was one of the shocks. Well, not so much a shock. I think a lot of people knew how well he was throwing, and Chopra had certainly dealt with the Tokyo conditions better than anybody. Was hugely consistent. Vetter looked pretty good in the qualifying, and then really disappointing performance from him in the Olympic final.
Yeah, Chopra was will be a legend for the rest of his life in India now, won't he? Former world junior champion, taking the Olympic gold. Quite a turn-up, though. Nonetheless, I think we might have expected him to get amongst the medals or push really hard for a medal of some colour, but gold, dream come true, as they say. Now, Johannes Vetter chasing 79.10 there by Vadlec, the Czech. World #1, Johannes Vetter. 96 meters 29 he threw back in late May in Chortów, Poland. He is the second longest thrower in history, with less than a metre between his best 97.76 and the world record of Zelezny. But here he just needs to reach 79.10 or better. And I think he might have done enough. He has, in spectacular fashion, back in the groove as Johannes Vetter. That's way out there, way beyond 85 metres. Hasn't thrown since Tokyo, where his 9th place was by his standards a modest 82-metre effort, 82.5 metres. And better there, Steve. Yeah.
I think Tim was just a little bit anxious because you saw him looking at it, because it started to drift a little bit towards the edge of the sector, and it only came in by, what, a metre and a half, couple of metres maybe?
86.34 for Vetter. Well, that is big. It's so big, only a handful of men have thrown that far this year.
Yeah, you just saw him laughing and making that hand movement with his right hand to say it was drifting, but it hung in there. Yeah, sigh of relief all round. Well, that's the end of the javelin, so we've just got one more field event to follow, which will be the women's triple jump. So those guys leave the stage clear for Rojas and the others. Next event on the track will be the men's 200 metres. Here is Rojas then after that 15:42 in round 3, a 15:56 which was windy in round 1. In superb form, world record to win the Olympic title. Rojas of Venezuela. Oh, and it's another huge effort. I just love the way she looks disdainfully down in the pit to go. Don't you tell me it wasn't far enough. Just watch this.
I'm still not sure she's that happy with it, Steve. I think she feels there's more.
Well, I think you're right. I think she knows how far... I mean, she's not bad on the board here at all. And the wind behind her, it's another legal jump. It's only plus 0.6. The wind just dropping, that's in her favour. As I said, based in Spain, and look at that, that is a huge effort, 15:52.
Anna Minenko then, of Israel. That's around, what, 14:30, something like that, from Minenko. She jumped up 14:47, her opener. Frankly, Rojas operating on a different level. That's another no jump from Minenko.
There's a few of them been struggling a little bit, including Kimberly Williams, to really get to grips. It's Ricketts and Rojas who've been doing really well. That's no better really from Kimberly Williams. She's struggling to get in the top 3. Minenko holding on to a 3rd position. This is the 5th round, so that will be it. And when you look at the likes of Mamona, who had such a brilliant Olympic Games, she's only jumped 14:02. A couple of no jumps. She's got one to come as well. So this is last chance to get into that final 3. Williams won't make it behind the board. 14:29 will remain her best of the competition.
Yeah, when you think how these athletes have to hit that perfect mark to get onto the board, wind, strong winds will affect them more than most disciplines.
Coach Dwight in the background there, and trying to keep warm, I think, watching this as we now move to the next event on the track on the far side, men's 200.
Yeah, Dwight Phillips, just another spectator in the crowd, multiple world long jump champion. It is time for the men's 200 metres. The meeting record set 2 years back by Noah Lyles, 19.50, and of course last Saturday he ran 19.52 to win the Prefontaine Classic. That's William Reis, who goes on the outside, European under-23 champion just this summer in Tallinn. Best of 20.26 this year, very close to his lifetime best from last year, 20.24. Fascinating race, though, between the athletes in the 3 lanes inside him. Steve Gardner of the Bahamas is the Olympic champion at 400. Of course, he took gold at the World Championships in Doha 2019. He won Tokyo 400 by a couple of metres. Judges his 400s by perfectly, but he's under pressure here because Kenneth Benarek, the Tokyo Olympic silver medalist over 200, goes in lane 6. on paper about 5 metres this season quicker than Gardner. How will he go against the man outside him? And Fred Curley, the Olympic silver medalist in the 100, goes in lane 5, set his personal best in the 100 in the Tokyo final. 9.84, has a best of 1990. There's Aaron Brown of Canada, goes in lane 4, the Canadian champion, 6th in Tokyo. 19.99 is season's best set in that final. Giancarlos Martinez of Dominica goes in lane 3, best of 20.17. Went out in the heats in, he was a semi-finalist rather in Tokyo. Then Isaiah Young in lane 2, 8th in the World Championships in London back in 2017, the American. And on the inside, it's Joseph Faustin Desalu of Italy. Best of 20.29 this year, Desalu. And he too, a semi-finalist in Tokyo at 200 metres. Speaking of Italy, remember the name of Marcel Jacobs, the Olympic champion at 100 metres from Italy. 9.84, a European record in that Olympic final. Declared very soon after Tokyo that he wasn't going to race again this summer. But the Italian Desalu goes in 1, Isaiah Young in 2, Giancarlos Martinez of Dominica in 3, then Aaron Brown of Canada in 4. Fred Curley goes in 5, one of that very small group of athletes who have broken 10 for 100, 20 for 200, and 44 for 400. Kenny Bednarek goes in lane 6. Steve Gardner, the Olympic champion at 407. Watch him to come late. And that, I'm afraid, might well have been Aaron Brown going according to the reaction times on our screens. Brown in lane 4. Centre of picture there.
Can't lie about that, can you? He's looking up, isn't he? All the others have turned their back and walked away going, well, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me.
Well, the trouble is that's up on the big screen. They were looking up at it just now, so Brown just double-checking. That's not what he wanted to see. There's Kenny Bednarek. His fabulous form this year. He's run 44.7 for 400. 9.89 for 100 this year.
A lot of discussion, Tim. You're talking about Curly and you know, part of that unique club. You know, what does he do now? You know, what does he do going forward? He is, isn't he? But that's sometimes not a good thing, isn't it? You know, you don't want to fall between stools.
It's a big range. That's
it is
so weird. Yeah. You know, 100 to 400. I mean, you get 100, 200 runners, and occasionally, like Michael Johnson, 200, 400 runners. But to be supreme class at 100, 200, and 400, I suppose you'd say, well, you'd work on your 400, wouldn't you, and use that raw speed to, you know, maybe threaten that
yeah, I think that was
the record of Van Niekerk.
That's 100%. I think that was the plan. It kind of come down to speed, but he just got so good at the 100 and 200. No, by the way, no disqualification.
Couldn't leave it. We did have an athlete running under protest in Eugene last Saturday. I don't know if that's what's happening here tonight with Aaron Brown, but it certainly looked like his start was a false one first time. Anyway, Desalu in 1, Young in 2, Martinez in 3, then Brown goes in 4, the Canadian. Fred Curley in 5, Bednarek in 6, Steve Gardner in 7, and William Race in lane 8. Well, third from left in the headband is Bednarek, but Fred Curley probably started the best of them. Now Bednarek getting into his running, and he leads into the straight. Fred Curley's got some chasing to do, so is Steve Gardner in the grey, second to left. But look at Kenny Bednarek pulling away and staying clear, and these two again well clear from the rest. 1965. Well, I tell you what, it's only a stride outside that meeting record of Noah Lyles. The window, 3.2 behind them, it says down on the track side. So the illegal wind, I'm afraid, will not make that time recognised for ranking lists and so on. But it was nonetheless a fabulous clash between these two. Steve Gardner, probably a little bit of a tough call for him against two men who were so quick over 100 to really factor over that first 100, and then they were gone by the time he got into the straight. But a great clash from Curley in 5 and Bednarek in 2, who held his strength, Stephen, if anything, pulled away over the last 30 or 40 by another half metre or so. He was quite a clear victor.
Yeah, I agree. 1 minute you thought Curly with his 400-meter strength, really, is he going to come through and having run a pretty good bend. He didn't get out quite as well as Bednarek, and then looked as though he was going to come on to him. And I think the transition into the home straight for Bednarek was so good, and then he carried that momentum through, and Curly was always chasing from that point. But even, you know, maybe was thinking he'd come back. But look at this point here. As they come into home straight, Bednarek just gets up through and carries on running. And nothing changes now. Curly doesn't make any inroads. They just keep running the same pace all the way to the end. And that meter that he got coming into the home straight, Gardner was chasing, but his bend put him so far behind these two, he was never going to catch them. But yeah, you know, this guy's had, again, a brilliant season. Olympic silver medalist. Probably a little frustrated, a couple of windy races to fit, you know, the last couple of weeks. Eugene was breezy again here tonight. As you said, that would have been second quickest we would have seen here in Lausanne. But +3, or in excess of +3 meters, means it won't be a legal time. Nonetheless, big win over Curly and Gardner here. Aaron Brown came through for fourth in the end.
Well, Noah Lyles has won the last two half-lap races here. The 200 title in Lausanne stays in American hands. Kenny Bednarek with a 3 meter plus per second win, wins in 1965 from Fred Curly in 1977. 20.11 for Steve Gardner, the Bahamian. Still really solid running from lane 7.
Yeah, I think all the athletes, when they have a 3 meter win behind them, are looking for one of those super fast times. I think, you know, Gardner has run so much quicker, but, you know, just watching this out, you know, just some nice shots here rather than any way of really analysing them. But, you know, he's so compact, gets out really well, ran a good strong bend. But for me, it was where he won it, because look at Curly there. He's got a decent start, and then at this point here, you think Curly's going to let that stagger unwind and then come away with a half a meter, but he doesn't. Bednarek gets better position into the home straight, and then it just holds him off, nothing happening. Curly's doing his best, but cannot close that gap.
What's interesting, Steve, was that the battle between them drew them well clear. It was a bit like the women's 100, where Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price head of Thompson-Hera just battling away to catch her, and there was a big gap behind them. That possibly the performance of the evening, that meeting record on the women's 100, 10.60 by Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price.
Well, this is a little look back on, if you weren't with us right at the beginning, the men's shot put right at the very beginning. The Olympic champion, the world record holder, did what he does best. He put one out there just to frighten everybody off over getting close to that 23 meter mark. Ryan Krauser has been so dominant in the very first round. It was the longest throw of the competition, of course, with the final three. His 22.81 in this first round won't go up as the actual result. He threw 22.64 though, in a part of a great series once again from the big American. I think they were enjoying it on that top bend. The crowd really got into that competition. So that was a meeting record. Now we move to the 3-2, or the final three in the women's triple jump.
And here's how these athletes made it through to the final three. Hannah Minenko had a great time at the Olympic Games. The Israeli Minenko finishing in 6th in Tokyo. Tonight, 14.47 in round 1, gave her 3rd place before the 6th and final round. Shanika Ricketts, 15.02 in round 2, albeit with a 2.7 wind. It was just over the legal limit. That would have been for Ricketts. Otherwise, her first ever over 15 meters. She was disappointed when she saw the win. And Rojas opening with 15.56, a big win behind her, plus 3.5 behind the Venezuelan world record holder. But she, of course, will battle out the win here now as this 6th round final three will unfold. And here is Minenko, and she runs through, and that's frustrating, and fails to record a mark. Therefore, 3rd place for her, guaranteed. And Minenko, well, she's a 14.78 jumper. That was way back in 2015, 6 years ago now. She was good on the board, but just couldn't hold it together.
It's been registered, Tim, as 12 metres 62.
Well, there's a target.
So the other two have got to beat. I was talking about the football earlier on, and you shouldn't forget that Rojas is part of FC Barcelona, the sports club, and they actually won 16 medals at the Olympic Games, I think I read, because it's a multi-sport club. But she will be there at the match on Sunday to kick off. I'm not sure if Shanika Ricketts is a football fan at all, but you saw the disappointment when she saw that wind reading after a 15-metre jump beyond 15 in the second round. What can she do here? Such a tall, rangy athlete, and I think for Shanika Ricketts, well, she knows that second place was always probably going to be the result here whenever you're in a competition with Rojas. I would have loved to have reproduced what she did in the second round. Hasn't done that here. So she just drops off it at the end there. The final phase was way behind the board, but registers 14.52. So I think the only way she's going to win, I would suggest, is if Rojas no jumps.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting though, Steve, is that the win behind Minenko's effort, albeit a 12-metre effort, 1.8. The win behind Ricketts there, 1.7. And 14.52 is the target of sorts, although, as you say, it's more than a metre behind Rojas's world
You're
best.
teasing us here, Tim, aren't you?
I am, because this could be special. Hold on to your seats, folks. Big-time performer. And Rojas currently in third place because of the way this final three format works out. Chasing 14 metres 52. Jumped 15.56 with her opener. That was a 3.5 metre per second win. Then 15.52 was her best legal jump. That was in round 4. Diamond League record and new meeting record. Here she goes. Now, will the wind be kind? Will she jump big? Rojas at 25, twice world champion, Olympic champion, world record holder. No. Just not quite the right body position at takeoff, was it? I think she knew it. But even then, Steve, that looked to be beyond 15 metres.
Well, I thought for a second, Tim, it was a no jump. It's come up as 1 centimetre. Look at this. I mean, we'll get a better shot of it. Yeah, the middle phase wasn't quite right there, was it? Look at that. Oh. Close. But I just love watching her. I love the fact that she just collapsed a little bit at the end compared to what she normally does. But, you know, she's got such talent. That world record we saw, she knows she can go further. And we're all going to enjoy her over the next 2-3 years, I'm sure, winning gold medals. But how far can she go? Taking the women's triple jump into a completely new phase.
Well, there's plenty of people who think she can go a long, long way further than her world record of 15.67 set in Tokyo early in the track and field program. She wins there with a 15.11 and a 0.5 wind, ironically. Very, very little wind, almost still air behind that sixth and final round effort for Rojas to take the win as expected. Ricketts second with 15.02. Or 14.52 actually in round 6. And Minenko 12.62 in round 6 in the final 3, but her best effort coming in round 1, 14.47. It'll come. It's so exciting with an athlete of Rojas's caliber. You just suspect something special every time she steps out in anger.
Now we've got one more event to come. It's the 4x100, which is for women, which is traditional here in Lausanne. But before we see that, let's just have a little look back at the women's 100 metres earlier on, which was a superb race.
Well, it was very special. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, fourth from right in the headband, got out of the blocks like a rocket. The Olympic champion, Thompson-Herah, third to left in the green headband, chasing it down, ran out of track, and the time, spectacular, 10.60, replacing the 23-year-old meeting record of Marion Jones, which was 10.72. And 10.60, well, that's a new personal best for Fraser-Price. She was third fastest in history, she still is, but she's closed up a little bit on Flojo's 10.49 and Thompson-Herah's 10.54 from Eugene last Saturday. Steve, these are special days for women's sprinting.
They are, and you know, you've got these three Jamaicans, others who want to try and get closer. Tally just run out of third spot there by Jackson, but you know, I think that the kind of backstory as well of the two of them, of Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price and Elaine Thompson-Herah, you know, how they've their careers have been intertwined, but in no way have they ever kind of been two athletes who've enjoyed each other's journey necessarily. And certainly for Fraser-Price, when you look at, you know, how good she's been over the last 2 or 3 years, 2019 was so good, last year as well, and finishes, well, she hasn't finished this season, but runs another personal best. But Elaine Thompson-Herah won the Olympic title. So sadly, whether it's just because they don't fancy it, or you know, couldn't be persuaded, or from a Jamaican perspective, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's a fourth sprinter. They're not in the relay, which would have been lovely to have seen the three of them together, plus another.
Well, it's a cool evening, Steve. Why tempt fate? You know, there's more races to come yet.
But we've still got a good race to look forward to. And the middle lanes will be really interesting with the Dutch team. A pretty strong British quartet. In fact, 3 of the medal-winning quartet are here, and then the Swiss team with Dicha, Del Ponte, Kambunji and Cora. So I think we'll be seeing probably the Dutch will not be quite good enough to hang on to Great Britain and Northern Ireland and the Swiss A team. There's a Swiss B team, and out on the outside, the Austrian team as well. Strametz will lead them off.
Steve, I should be interested to see how the Swiss A team, though, in lane 4 go with Del Ponte and Kambunji on legs 2 and 3. That's a pretty strong middle pairing.
Well, it is, and you know, we know how strong they have been, and they've switched around a couple of the others on occasion. Cora's, again, one of the regulars. Dicha's kind of been in and out of the team, but that's a very strong quartet for them. And Ashley Nelson comes in for Great Britain, where Dina Asher-Smith would have been on that leg. Dina, of course, over the injury problems that she had pre-Olympic Games, but not here tonight. So it'll be Asher Phillip, Imani Lancico, who ran in the B race earlier on this evening, Ashley Nelson, and then Daryl Nita, who ran so well in Tokyo and already ran in that 100-meter race you saw just a moment or two ago, where she equaled her personal best, running sub-11 again. So a very strong finish for the British quartet. Team Leah, this is Leah Sprunger's team. Big cheer for them. She'll be running on the last leg for them. As I said, it's part of this farewell tour, if you like. Visser, Van Vliet, Hoenenstein and Sedney. Not the strongest Dutch quartet. But then this British quartet led off by Asher Phillip. Then it'll be Imani Lancico. Then Ashley Nelson coming in on the top end, then to Daryl Nita. And this, the Swiss team that finished behind Great Britain in the Olympic Games in 4th place. Exactly the same 4. Big cheer. Dicha, Del Ponte, Kambunji, and then Cora. Poland, of course, who won a medal in the 4x4, not in the short relay, not renowned for that, but they do have a team here. And then the Swiss B team on the inside. Quintet, Gutschmidt, Gloor, and Reinle. Well, the British quartet with Asher-Smith were a couple of tenths ahead of the Swiss at the Olympic Games. Completely different conditions here tonight, of course, and the Swiss have the home crowd advantage. They go in lane 4, Great Britain in lane 5, Netherlands in lane 6. Team Leah with Leah Springer on the last leg in lane 7. Last event of the evening, 4x1 relay. Asher Phillip completely in tights, keeping herself warm, has started pretty quickly and is running down the Netherlands outside. That's Nadine Visser. So it's a good start for Great Britain, and a very safe change to Lancico. And the Swiss team have got a little bit of ground to make up here. Marnie Lancico for Great Britain in the lead at the moment, handing to Ashley Nelson. That's a better change. Kambunji with the baton now for Switzerland. It's going to be very close on the last leg. because Kambunji might just put the Swiss in the lead. But Daryl Neater's on the last leg for Great Britain and will be chasing Cora all the way. The crowd are cheering on Switzerland, but Daryl Neater is flying for Great Britain. It's going to be very close. Who's going to get it on the line? It's going to be Daryl Neater for Great Britain, as the crowd just heave a sigh of frustration because Cora couldn't quite hang on. I said in the beginning, Great Britain had, with Daryl Neater on the last leg, the strongest finish, and they gave Cora a great chance there as Leah Sprunger gets a hug from her team, but Cora could not quite hang on. Kambunji ran a superb leg on the third, around the top bend there, but Great Britain 42.44 the winning time, Switzerland 42.47, the Netherlands a little distant with 43.52. Well done, Daryl. Great night's work for her, personal best equaling performance individually and bringing Great Britain home for the win over Switzerland.
Well, Steve, they had to fight for it, didn't they? The Swiss always punch above their weight, so to speak, don't they, when it comes to relays? The Swiss meetings here in Lausanne and Zurich always conclude with a relay, and they love to get their athletes a run out, an opportunity to excite the home crowd. That so nearly ended up in the fairy tale finish for this packed La Pontaise stadium. They've really enjoyed themselves here. How great to see full stadia becoming the norm in track and field athletics at the end of this 2021 summer, with Paris, of course, coming at us in 48 hours' time, and then Brussels and Zurich will conclude the 2021 Wanda Diamond League season. That was close, 3 100s in it.
Yeah, it was an interesting race, Tim. Lots of love for Team Leah, but I thought Asher Phillip got a very, very good, and running in full kit, if you like. But just watch this first change. Oh, sorry, we're not going to see the first change. It's the last one.
It was very safe. You called it right. It wasn't a bad changeover. There's a fine line, isn't there?
Yeah.
Look at that gap behind this pair.
Yeah, well, they were the two best teams, obviously, and that's stood out here when poor Cora, you say poor Cora, I mean, they would love to come away with a win. I mean, it's a tradition here in Lausanne, and we have the relays in Zurich as well. And this meet has often before given teams the chance to qualify for things like the Olympic Games, etc. So, interesting for Leah Sprunger. Not quite sure how often she gets to run the final leg of a 4x1, mind you. Ashley Phillip has taken a while to come and meet her teammates, but she's finally made it. So well done, Great Britain.
Steve, considering the conditions, and Jackie de la Pierre, a wonderful organiser of this meeting for many, many years, the meeting director, deserved better than a cool, breezy evening. But when you think about it, the two performances of the evening for me on the women's side, and possibly overall, is that women's 100, 1060 for Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price. And on the men's side, I mean, great performances. The men's 3000 too, of course, 7:33, I think, in these conditions for 7.5 laps was special. On that triple jump from Rojas as well was huge. I mean, 15:56, okay, that was with an illegal win, but her next best was legal, 15:52, coming in round 4. Next meeting of the Diamond League, well, as I said, just a couple of days away now. Paris, we shall be in the glorious French capital in 48 hours. A whole load of us, many, many athletes getting the train from Lausanne here direct to the central city of France, the biggest city in France, I should say. From Steve Cram, myself, Tim Hutchings, from Lausanne, Stade La Pontaise. Bye-bye.
Allez, on va les appeler les uns ou les unes après les autres, avec ceux qui sont ici. On va commencer par, c'est dans le désordre. Les filles, voilà, Eléa, qui va nous rejoindre. Elle va revenir tout à l'heure au podium. Viens, viens là. On va les appeler les unes après les autres. On va commencer avec les filles. Come here, Femke.